We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Hey everybody, I am Jason Bermas, and today I'm just asking some questions. And the question is, will Thomas Massie be totally and completely sidelined during this administration? I gotta tell you, I really hope that is not the case. Thomas Massie, overall, when you're looking at mainline politicians, it simply does not get better than Massie. And so it got reported the other day, that I think it was yesterday, that he was out on the Rules Committee. And let me tell you what, that is no bueno. That's not what we want. We want Tom Massie to be more empowered. And look, the media kind of jumped on it and said it was because of his vote against Speaker Johnson. And look, I'm not in love with Speaker Johnson. Let's make that extremely clear. But at the same time, Thomas Massie has done and continues to do some of the most devastating everything to the establishment. What do I mean by everything? The way he votes, the way he acts, what he says in interviews, when he confronts politicians on their fraud in the House. He's the everything guy. He walks the walk. He doesn't just talk the talk. Now, Massie himself, I want to get into this just really quick before we get into 5 of Massie's greatest hits, if you will. Just laying it down to Chinatown, talking to John Kerry, exposing him, exposing the Green Agenda, talking about censorship in TikTok, explaining political theater and how the budget and laws are supposed to work, and exposing AIPAC and their influence in D.C. Massie says this, and I encourage everybody to also follow Massie on X. Also give me a follow. I volunteered to step aside if the speaker wanted to place someone else on the Rules Committee, as he chose that option, and he chose that option. This was not retribution for my vote against him. I look forward to continuing my work on the Judiciary and Transportation Committees. So, politics is politics. I'm sure there were a ton of backdoor conversations. Massie himself has had an extremely difficult year. His wife recently passed away unexpectedly. I want more Thomas Massie. I want Massie to maybe become a part of the administration down the line when they get rid of a big name. I mean, Thomas Massie, just like an RFK Jr. or a Tulsi Gabbard, in my opinion, can be devastating. Devastating. And here's the deal. This isn't about left or right politics to me, and I'm not trying to sell you on hopium. Thomas Massie has the actual proven record in Congress. Again, if anybody out there thinks there's someone that is better than Massie, please point them out in the comment section. Comment down below, thumbs it up, subscribe, share, ring that bell. We've lost 50 subscribers in the last 2.5, 3 weeks. So make sure to also follow me on X, where you can see a lot of these raw videos as I've posted them in the past, and recently posted this one on AIPAC. I do want to encourage everybody that can to support me via the Buy Me a Coffee, $5, $10, $15. It does mean the world to me. Big donors. Thank you so much. Also share the links. Check out the documentary films. We are going to get her going. Let's go to Massie right now, talking about AIPAC and their influence, the Israeli influence, within the halls of Congress and the Senate, at least in the arena of the Republicans.
Everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What's that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are firmly embedded in AIPAC, and
Every member has something like this?
that's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to DC, you go have lunch with them, and they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them.
That's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, I'll talk to my AIPAC person, and it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country? It doesn't benefit the congressman for people to know that, so they're not going to tell you that.
So they're not gonna tell you that. And look, I'm pragmatic. I realize that there needs to be a massive structural change and shift if we are no longer going to be militarily aligned with Israel, right? I mean, they're part of Five Eyes. It's a huge thing that goes by the wayside that's not acknowledged much. Now, people chastised me for this and crucified me and called me a Trumpster or a MAGA guy for me saying, that I was hopeful, and I still am, that Trump is not going to only end what's going on with Ukraine and Russia in rapid fashion, but what's happening in the Middle East. Now, I don't know what the future holds. I know we're about, 5 days. Monday's the inauguration. And then we'll see what happens. But they're publicly out there saying they have a deal for the hostages and a ceasefire. Step one. Step one, let's get the dead babies and kids out of my feed. And I'm dead serious when I say that. And I can't even tell you, you want to talk about the things that actually do kind of come up when I'm trying to sleep at night and maybe it is a little uncomfortable with the situation in the world. I try to put that stuff to the side. But even during the waking hours, I didn't even watch the video, just a still shot of a supposed Israeli soldier, because I didn't watch the video, I don't speak the language, I didn't click it, holding a headless toddler. No, thank you. No, thank you. And Massie has continually been anti-war. All right, we're going to move on to the next all-star Massie clip. And one of the reasons we don't want him pushed aside, we want him as a big part of this incoming administration, both with their attitude and their actions. This was Massie just before the latest budget pass, right? And him talking about the political theater surrounding the idea of people who are not citizens of the United States being able to vote in our elections, including our presidential election. Yes, a real issue. But then, Massie puts on a masterclass at talking about how the Congress is not doing their jobs and that we shouldn't even have this omnibus bill. I'm butchering it. But we should have bills throughout the year separately doing this. We should actually be on budget. And this is everything that you're seeing during that time period is political theory or a theater. Again, Massie just crushing it.
And I would call on Mr. Massie.
Can we be honest with the American people about what's going on here? This is political theater. I'm going to call out both sides right here. It's all posturing. It's fake fighting. We all know where it ends up. This is Groundhog Day. I don't care if the Democrat is the speaker or Republican is the speaker. We always get a CR in September, and then we get an omnibus. Sometimes there's a twist on that. We might get the omnibus before Christmas, but if we're not good, it comes after Christmas. But that's what's going to happen. And in the meantime, it's political theater. You know, we've got it's good theater. We've got great writers. I wish they'd just come up with a new plot. It's the same plot every fiscal year. What should we be doing? It's already been discussed. We should have done 12 separate bills. But again, whether Democrats are in control or Republicans are in control, we never do the 12 separate bills. Why do we always spend at least as much as we did last year, and why do we never cut spending? It's because Democrats want to grow the welfare state, and Republicans want to grow the military-industrial complex. And we're eventually going to get together, and they're both going to go up. I guarantee it. And both parties are just fine letting the bureaucrats do their thing, which should be our thing, according to Article 1. Section 8 in the Constitution. We are empowered with these things. Most important of the things we do is the funding, and that's the big lever we have. You know, I've sat through now almost 2 years of hearings in this Congress where we've exposed lies at the CDC, shortcuts at the FDA, unconstitutional gun bans at the ATF, over-prosecution of January 6ers at the DOJ, targeting common citizens at the FBI, spying by the NSA, illegal mandates for livestock by the USDA, targeting plant vaccine or transgenic plant vaccine at the NSF, and censorship, the censorship industrial complex of which the NSF is part of, automobile kill switch at the DOT. Now, these are all things I think most Democrats are just fine with, this kind of totalitarian state that the bureaucrats are pushing on us. But Republicans at least pretend to be against these things. But what are we going to do this September? We're going to fund every freaking one of those things that we have exposed. That is the tool that we have, is the funding. Why are we funding things we don't like? We don't have to. Well, it's because we're addicted to spending. And this doesn't do anything about the addiction at all. So let me touch on one point too here that I think is important. Is, you know, a couple years ago, or a summer and a half ago, I suppose now, we did something where we allowed the debt limit to be increased. But as a condition of that, we said if you do a CR that lasts past April 30th, everything's going to get cut 1%. And that, to me, seemed like at least a little tinge of fiscal responsibility was creeping in. But now I notice that this CR, instead of going 1 year and giving us time to do the 12 appropriations bills, is going to go 6 months. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen because this goes 6 months. Number one, it ends in March 28th, on March 28th. Well, the automatic cuts happen on April 30th if the CR went past that. So that is exactly why the Speaker chose a 6-month CR, is so we don't have even the chance, a threat to this town, it's a threat of a 1% cut. We don't want to even, this is like T-ball. The 1% cut is on the tee, and Republicans won't even swing at it. So instead, we're going to do a 6-month CR instead of a 1-year CR. That sets up another crisis next spring where we can do another pretend fight sometime around March. And that fight it'll be the same fight regardless of who wins the presidency and who's in charge of the Senate and the House. And we're basically going to get pretty much the same result. But that's 6 months from now. In the meantime, we can kick the can down the road. All of these things that we've exposed and all of these hearings are going to continue to get funded. But wait, there's a bright, shiny object on this CR. I've never seen one of these. I have never seen a bright, shiny object attached to one of these must-pass bills. Oh, wait, no. And actually happens, there always is, a bright, shiny object, a bauble, if you will. A little something to get excited about. This SAVE Act, it's going to save us all, right? And by the way, this is good political theater. I do like this part of it, that we're going to see almost every Democrat cast a vote so that illegals can vote in our elections. I mean, that's pretty clever on the part of our speaker to set that up, make you all take that vote. But here's what he's going to do after you take that vote. He's going to take it off. The bright, shiny object goes away. It's Lucy and the football again. And the American public is all revved up. Yeah, we're going to get to save it. We're going to save these elections. We're going to stop the illegals from voting. Really? How are you going to do that in like 6 weeks? I think they're already registered if they're going to vote. Some of them probably already voted. This SAVE Act ain't going to save anything. And particularly because it ain't ever going to become law. It's a false promise to get all the Republicans half pregnant. And then you're going to get fully pregnant by the end of September when you vote for this CR. That is not going to have this, I mean, I hate to break this to you. I mean, the Democrats already know this. I'm not telling you anything special. I hate to break it to the Republicans. You ain't getting the SAVE Act. It is not going to stay on this bill. Why? Because we're going to cave. We're going to cave. Is it a fight worth having? Absolutely, it's a fight worth having. Make those Democrats say they want illegals to vote. Make them take that vote as many times as you can. And then make them go to the ballot box in November. But that's what it is political theater, folks. We all know where it ends up. We've seen it. I've been here 12 years. I've seen it 12 times. I refuse to be a thespian in this failure theater. And with that, I yield back.
My man. You notice usually I interrupt. And that was a long clip. That was 7 minutes long. And it was bingo, bango, shabiddly, badongo. I mean, dead on. From the fact that the whole thing is theater, the fact that they're not going to get the SAVE Act, the fact that this is going to happen again, now, he said in 6 months, in a few months, all right? I mean, Thomas Massie, Lucy and the football, the bobble, the whole shebango. You want more Massie, not less. Now, I get it, he's still on these other committees. But once again, if this, I realize that Trump needs, if he's going to do the right thing, by the way, needs good people in Congress and the Senate. But this guy, I mean, he has to be the model. People should want to be Massie politicians, not even just Republicans. I could care less whether you're riding dirty with the D or red with the R. Okay, so now we're gonna get to the next clip. Now these clips are all much shorter than that one. That really was the meat and potatoes Massie. But these next 3 clips are just as important. We're gonna play Massie talking about TikTok, and that's also in the news. And TikTok may not be banned. And as I've stated before, you can't just start banning platforms saying that they're state actors, because we're already in a system where winners and losers have been picked. The technopoly is here, right? But the ability to just, if any of these big players in any way go off the rails, which is bound to happen, right? We don't live in a uniformity of ideas, ideals, morality, etc. Something's going to slip by, and all of a sudden they don't get in line, right? They want the ability to say, oh, Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, it's backed by this, that. We need to shut it down. We need to shut it down. So that idea with TikTok is no bueno either, especially when I've highlighted it many times that we can talk about Chinese-style censorship of the internet. No, it's just censorship of the internet at this point. Remember, Google developed their censored internet via Dragonfly, which is an international company that works hand in hand with our military-industrial complex on things like artificial intelligence and quantum computing. Bottom level, There's so much more to that. So here is Massie on the talk.
The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I know the sponsors of this bill are sincere in their concerns and in their effort to protect Americans. They've described the TikTok application as a Trojan horse, but there's some of us who feel that either intentionally or unintentionally, this legislation to ban TikTok is actually a Trojan horse. Some of us are concerned that there are First Amendment implications here. Americans have the right to view information. We don't need to be protected by the government from information. Some of us just don't want the president picking which apps we can put on our phones or which websites that we can visit. We don't think that's appropriate. We also think it's dangerous to give the president that kind of power, to give him the power to decide what Americans can see on their phones and their computers. To give him that sort of discretion, we also think is dangerous. Now, people say that this TikTok ban will only apply to TikTok or maybe another company that pops up just like TikTok, but the bill is written so broadly that the president could abuse that discretion and include other companies that aren't just social media companies and that aren't, as some people would believe, controlled by foreign adversaries. Again, we're giving the president that discretion to decide whether it is controlled by a foreign adversary. There were some people who were legitimately concerned that this was an overly broad bill, and they got an exclusion written into the bill that I want to read. It says, the term covered company does not include an entity that operates a website or application whose primary purpose is to allow users to post product reviews, business reviews, or travel information and reviews. Why is this exception in the bill? Why did somebody feel like they needed this exception if the bill itself only covers social media applications that foreign adversaries are running? These and other questions we hope to answer in the course of this debate, and I reserve the balance of my time.
So once again, Massie killing it. Saying, look, it may be well-intentioned, but you know what? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And you just start throwing out the terms foreign adversary. Anybody remember this old dance? Russia, Russia, Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia. Russia. A lot of people still dancing to that tune. Do a little jig. It's not a good thing. So now we're going to get to the confrontation aspect of Massie. Like I said, he's the everything guy. He's murderer's row on the real issues. Here he confronts John Kerry on the climate scam. And then after that, we got one more clip of Massie just doing it up, not giving a what, talking about the green ridiculous.
The gentleman from Kentucky reserves the...
Isn't it true you have a science degree from Yale? What's that?
Bachelor of Arts degree.
Is it a political science degree?
Yes, political science.
So how do you get a Bachelor of Arts in a science?
Well, it's liberal arts education and degree. It's a bachelor.
Okay, so it's not really science. So I think it's somewhat appropriate that somebody with a pseudoscience degree is here pushing pseudoscience in front of our committee today. Let's get back to the science of it.
But it's not science. You're not quoting science.
Well, you're the science expert. You got the political science degree. Look, let me ask you this. What's the consensus on parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere?
About 406 today.
Okay, 406. Are you aware
350 being the level that scientists have said is danger.
Okay, are you aware? 350 is dangerous. Wow. Are you aware that since mammals have walked the planet, the average has been over 1,000 parts per million?
Yeah, but we weren't walking the planet. Let me just share with you that we now know that definitively at no point during the past 800,000 years has atmospheric CO2 been as high as it is today.
The reason you chose 800,000 years ago is because for 200 million years before that, it was greater than it is today.
And I'm going to submit for the record.
Yeah, but there weren't human beings. I mean, there was a different world, folks. We didn't have 7 billion people.
So how did it get to 2,000 parts per million if we humans weren't here?
Because there were all kinds of geologic events happening on Earth which spewed up.
Did geology stop when we got on the planet?
Mr. Chairman, this is just not a serious conversation.
Your testimony is not serious. I agree.
Again, Massie just pointing that out. Folks, CO2 is part of the life force of the planet and is invisible to the naked eye. And they want command and control mechanisms over that when real pollution is a real issue in the air and water. And we're talking about real issues with the air and water and the food. We also have a big issue with, I don't know, GMOs and beyond. You know, I'll say this. Listen to a lot of radio out here, and some of the radio ads are trying to be proponents of glyphosate. No, I don't want glyphosate. I want the Monsanto product out of there. No bueno with the glyphosate. But boy, they make it sound good on the radio. You know, you're against farmers if you want the glyphosate out. One more, Massie right here exposing the Johnny nonsense.
My third amendment, I saved the best for last. I know you'll all be excited about this. We call it the kill switch amendment. Section 24.220 of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act requires all newly manufactured vehicles to be equipped with technology to monitor your performance while driving and to prevent vehicle operation if the car so determines that you are not doing a very good job of driving. And I'm a little bit worried about this. My own car has some technology in it that tells me I need to get some coffee or something every now and then. And I mean, I think it's a nice feature to have, but allowing the car to disable itself, I think, is troublesome. And this, we don't have a lot of time. This is supposed to be implemented by 2026. And I don't know about you all, but I would like to know when I put my family in the car and I'm taking a trip somewhere, that the car is not going to disqualify me. I mean, I'll trust a court, or and then states, 31 states already have like a breathalyzer technology that's already incorporated into their laws. Like if you are a known offender, a DUI offender, they can force these to be installed in your car to make sure that you're qualified to drive, at least from a blood alcohol content qualified to drive. Not everybody is, but we don't need this federally. We don't need it automated. I think there's privacy concerns. In order for this technology to work, you actually need to know where the car is to know if the driver's doing a good job on that particular road. And so this kill switch amendment would just defund implementation of section 24.220 so that you can know your car's not going to shut you down in the middle of the road. And I thank you, urge consideration of these amendments.
Again, just exposing the dystopian agenda on when I said it was about command and control, I meant it. That's the reality. Folks, you know the drill to this guy. Thumbs it up, subscribe, share. If you can, consider going to the Buy Me a Coffee or other links down below, supporting the broadcast, sharing the info, sharing the documentary films. Remember, you can find those raw videos throughout my X feed over the years on Thomas Massie. I encourage you to follow Massie himself. He's the one posting most of these that I grab. More Massie, not less. We do not want him worked out of the administration or the narrative. We want him more mainlined. If you don't have more Massie, you don't have more accountability. All right? And then how are you supposed to really MAGA? Can you make America great again without making Massie mainline? I don't know that you can. Guys, not about left or right to this guy. Always about right and wrong.